Hello, we're going to be making pinch pots for during Lent, and with your kit you received 2 baggies per person of clay and also some basic instructions, and this video is just to kind of complement those instructions a little bit. And so first thing you want to do is just kind of take your lump of clay and sort of, you don't have to make it into a ball, but kind of smooth it out and get some of the creases out until you end up with something kind of like this. And then the whole thing with a pinch pot is we just start pinching it. Now what we want to be careful to do is not to make it too thin. So we're going to try to keep at least 1/4 of an inch on the bottom and on the sides so it does not become too fragile when we're firing it. And you just begin to pinch it to make the pot. It's a very ancient and easy method of making pottery. And you can make it, I like to make round ones, but you can make square ones, you can make whatever shape you want, it doesn't matter. Keep in mind that they're going to have a votive in them, and the clay is also going to shrink. It's going to shrink probably about 15 to 20%. So you're going to want to make it, the opening, a little bit bigger than the size of a votive to allow for that shrinkage. And just like if we're on a wheel, I find it helpful if we just keep turning it as we're pinching. And these do not need to be perfect. They will be beautiful in their imperfection as they're all sitting there together. And it's really pretty soft at this point when you first get it out of the bag. You can just start smoothing it with your fingers. I'm going to push down and make it a little level on the bottom so it's not rocky when we get the candle in it. I don't know what you can see now, but it's pretty much a little pot already. It doesn't take very long. Turn it upside down, try to get a little bit level on the top. And now while it's still wet, really wet here, we can do some basic smoothing. You can take a spoon if you'd like, plastic spoon. You can smooth the edges. You don't have to smooth the edges. However you want to do with your texture. It can be lumpy, it can look like a moon rock. You could roll it over, I don't have any texture, but I'll say if I were going to roll it over something like a fork. Kind of inspired by the Cherokee pottery, Cherokee and Creek in the eastern part of the United States, and they actually had wooden paddles with designs carved in that they would slap their pots with. I've used, on top of this one, I used the little thing that, I don't know what it's called, it goes on the edge of a pie, it makes the pie crust. You can take a toothpick and you can do designs. And as you do this, think about, God, He's created the potter and that we're in His hands, and think about that creative process and how we are called to become creators in the image of the Creator. There's something about making that is just sort of innate within us. And I am going to stop at this point. I'm going to put my initials on the bottom, and that's important for you to do so that we know whose pot is whose, because you will make two. One we will keep here, and one you will have at home for your sanctuary at home. If I wanted to get it really smooth, I could take a little water on my finger, not a lot of water, and I could smooth it with that. There's lots of things you can do with the clay. Just use your imagination. And some things are easier to do after it has hardened a little bit. So what I'm going to do is put it back into the bag that it came in. I'm going to leave it open and let it sit there for several hours or a day until it gets what we call leather hard, like this, which is, as you can hear, it's harder. It's not squishy like the new clay was really squishy, and this is not squishy anymore. And we can do finer work and designs on this now. You can do more smoothing now that it's a little firmer. And I support the inside as I'm working on the outside to give it some stability so it doesn't crush or crack. And these pots are not going to be glazed. We're going to use them raw from the fire. Hopefully we'll get some really cool marks from the flames and the smoke on them. And certainly they will smell like the smoke and the ash, and we'll bring back to our Ash Wednesday, and that we are from dust, that aroma will still be there. Another thing you can do if you choose, since we are not going to be glazing them, is you can burnish the leather hard pot. You take a spoon and you just start, again, supporting on the inside, just start smoothing it with a spoon. It compresses the outer layer of clay, and it will make it very shiny, and it will continue to stay that way after it's fired. This is just another alternative technique you can use. It's not mandatory. You can do what you like. Now, probably what I will do then is I will come back to this when it's even a little bit firmer and do a little bit more burnishing, and it will actually almost change color where you push the clay in, you can see, and it becomes really shiny. You can see a little bit now, but as it gets drier and I go back and burnish it, it will become even more shiny, and it will look almost like a glazed surface. So when you finish with your pot, if you could just leave it kind of open in the bag, let it dry a little bit, not too fast. We want to slow it down a little bit so it doesn't crack and drying too quickly. And then bring it back to the church, either in the narthex table, or if the church is locked, into the, what is it called, Ben? The cabinet?
Oh yeah, the cabinet by the choir door.
By the choir, you can put them in there. And then I will take them home and they will be fired. And we're going to be doing wood firing, like in the video for Ash Wednesday, which is a very ancient way of firing pottery before they were kilns. And this is earthenware clay, so it hopefully has a little give to it, and it will be able to tolerate the unevenness of the wood fire. So I don't know if you can see that. It's getting smoother and shinier. And I'll probably let this sit for a little bit, and then I'll come back to it, you know, tomorrow morning or in several hours, and I'll do a little bit more burnishing, and you can even like polish like this, and it will make it really shiny. That's just one technique you can use. it. Have fun with your clay.